Hello, welcome or welcome back to my channel. Welcome to today's video where I'm using a couple of random palettes to do this eyeshadow look. I was experimenting a bit with the Sydney Grace shimmers to see how they accentuated or emphasized texture the way that some other brand shimmers do. So if you want to see any of that, then stick around. I thought I would just sort of charge through this video. I'm actually crouched on my knees in front of my couch. We are moving in 3 days at the time that I'm filming this. But honestly, by the time you guys see it, we'll have moved like a week ago. I haven't been able to film and upload as much as I was hoping to, but I have been able to get about 2 videos a week, 2 to 3. Anyway, so by the time you guys are seeing this video, we are in our new home and hopefully nicely set up. And hopefully by this time, I'll be filming videos in the new place. But anyway, that's not the situation as I speak. As I speak, my house is torn apart entirely. There are mountains of boxes. My little baby is munching on blueberries in her high chair. And it's a very rainy, dreary day, so my 2 older children are, they're still sleeping. So I figured, hey, I'll take advantage of this quiet and see if I can get one last video in. Let me give you a brief summary of my plan for today's look. I've noticed that there's a little lump under the skin on this eyelid, and some of the more metallic and shiny shimmers emphasize that and make it quite visible. I mean, as far as having an eyeshadow channel and having close-ups of my eyelid. In real life, nobody sees it and nobody cares, but I'm just curious. I want to see how Sydney Grace shimmers work with that bump, because typically they don't accentuate or emphasize texture, and so I'm just curious to see if the light catches in the same way. Purely experimentation, is for science. So this is backwards. This is the Sydney Grace X Temptalia Quintessence palette. First Sydney Grace palette I ever got. I want to play with the gray mattes in here, and then I want to use the Sydney Grace shimmer from InMel's Memory Bundle. I think this one, this soft gray leaning green tone. It's very quiet and soft. And then for an inner corner highlight, I think I'm probably going to use Rebirth from the Oden's X Angelica Nyquist Hela palette. Rebirth is the pastel buttery yellow. That's my plan. Everything that I'm using, if it's available, is linked below in the description box. I do tend to use palettes which are older, so sometimes they're discontinued, but I do what I can to make sure that you guys can access whatever you may want to. So check the description box for playlists, suggestions, information about what I'm wearing today, and more. Now my 2 youngest are awake. I'm gonna do my best to keep this video quiet and not distract you too much, but into the Quintessence palette, let's first start with Reaching Zenith. And put this right over here in the outer crease.
Mama.
Yes, love.
When the storm is all done, like we can watch Little House on the Prairie.
When the storm's all done, you want to watch Little House on the Prairie?
Yeah.
Maybe. We'll see.
Thanks.
You're welcome. Okay, now into Parallax. I'm just going to touch the edges of this a little bit. Honestly, it doesn't really need much. I want to keep today's look quite light, but I want to make sure these edges are quite soft as well. She said hi. Yeah, she did. She did say hi. I don't think I'm going to deepen that anymore, at least not yet. I want to try the shimmer and see how it works. So the shimmer in this is from Sydney Grace. It's called Cadet. Looks like this. This color scheme today is reminding me of Stone and Rock from Oden's Eye. Yes, I think that the lump there is still, really it's emphasized by shimmer. That's the takeaway here. I don't know what it is. It's just a little bump under the skin. I actually went back into some of my older videos to try to figure out when it arrived, like when it started showing up, but if I drag the matte over a little bit more, it de-emphasizes what the shimmer has accentuated. So, and it still looks good. Actually, I would say it may even look a little bit better because the colors blend together a little more. You have less of a defining line between the 2 formulas. I think it's pretty though. Maybe I will deepen a little bit in the outer corner there. Just a bit. I will pick up Umbra from Quintessence, which is basically a black matte. All right, let's dip into the Hela palette. The shade here that I want to use is called Rebirth. Now, I am getting to the point where I only like a matte on my inner corner unless it's an extremely light shimmer, because the shimmer will take, it catches the light, which is the point, right? But it can catch the light in weird ways, and the inner corner might have a little bit of a fold, so you end up getting extra depth added in where I actually want brightness. So I'm going to take the Rebirth shade and put it right here. A matte will not do that. A matte will bring in color or whatever you want. Sometimes if you use a skin tone matte, it's going to soften that whole area and actually take away some extra lines or folds or depth or whatever. You know, it brightens the area only. It doesn't bring in weird shadows. And if you want to use a shimmer at the inner corner, you can always put it on top of the matte. My preference now is to have a matte inner corner across the board. I think I'll take this Rebirth shade now on a flatter but tighter blending brush. Kind of drag it into the gray. Yellow and gray are a really interesting color combination. Not something that I see very often. It's not something I do often. But I'm kind of embracing the idea of gray on myself. It seems to be a color that works nicely for me. This is reaching zenith once more. And finally some Umbra in just the outer corner with a smudger brush. Alright, this is what I did to finish off the look. In my waterline, I put this color Extra Frosting from ColourPop. It's a creme gel liner. It's just a buttery yellow. On my lips, I'm wearing their lip oil in the shade Smirk. Yeah, this is like the first lip oil I ever bought from ColourPop, and it's almost gone. I want to replace it because it's a nice neutral tone. It's very pretty. On my face, I have two different blushes. They're both from Milani. I've got 901 and Dolce Pink, whatever number that is. I put them together. I put the pink on and then the peach on top. I really like the peach blush. It's super pretty. I have a bit of highlighter from the ABH Aurora Glow Kit, and then some mascara, and that is actually everything. So I think the look is pretty. Again, it really reminds me a lot of the Stone and Rock palette from Oden's Eye. These sorts of tones, and honestly, the InMel's Memory Bundle does also remind me of that palette in general, with like a slightly grungier lean in some of the mattes. I don't know, it's a fine balance, but I think the look is pretty. I'm glad I experimented a bit with the shimmers just to see if it was accentuating that little bump that I've got, and yes, it does. But my solution was to simply carry the mattes over onto that space a bit more, and that kind of evened it out a little, I think. We'll see what the close-up looks like. Editing Rachel says that I really do believe the Sydney Grace shimmers are better for textured or aging skin. A lump is a different situation than simply having some fine lines. And the slightly refined shimmer formula is beautifully smooth and creamy, but not really the type to settle into those little crevices and valleys. So I still think it's a great formula if you do have some texture in your lid space. And if you want to eliminate any risk of highlighting texture, then just go all matte. An all matte look is beautiful, elegant, classy, and, you know, doesn't have that problem. Thank you so much for being here today. Of course, I would love to hear your thoughts, suggestions, comments. I enjoyed chatting with you guys in the comments. Thank you so much for all of your time, and I'm going to go pack the rest of my house now. So I will see you guys in the next space. Bye. We'll see how things go. You're my favorite little bear, and I love you to bits. I do. I love you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.